But I think, thinking back to the question you put out earlier, Marjorie, about what can organizations do to sort of promote some of this, and I think another thing is to keep ourselves honest by telling people who we hire and bring on that they should expect this. They have a right to expect, that I'm good, we hired you and so forth, and now that you're working with us, you can expect, that I'm supposed to be doing this for you, and I need you to sort of tell me how to do it better, and all that sort of thing. And I think very often, especially in large organizations or governmental organizations, people just don't feel like they are allowed to have any, expectations of what people provide for them. And so, if even if you're working in an organization like that, if you want to instill a culture, to sort of, I hate the word empower, but share with your staff that this is something they can expect.
Right. But I also think there are generational aspects to that too.
Yes.
I find that my staff who are older, they don't have the same expectation. I don't think they have had that experience in their work life where they've had multiple supervisors tell them that this is an expectation. And my experience recently with younger staff members is I think that they realize they're going to have multiple jobs over the course of their career. They're going to be moving from place to place, and staff development comes as part of the package. That's an important part of what their expectation is. So hopefully that's a really healthy way that we are moving with that expectation with the different generation. It's not a perk. It's like you say, Holly. It's an expectation that.
As long as our organizations are set up to address
it.
I talked to a lot of state maternal and child health directors who have had a lot of eager young folks come to work for them who've left shortly afterwards because the system wasn't supportive of that, and that was difficult.
What other kinds of factors or individual differences do you have to take into account when you're thinking about people development? If it's not one size fits all, you talked some about age and generation of employees. What are some other factors?
I think there are several. A couple of gender, of course, where one is in one's life cycle, and that doesn't have to do necessarily with age. The experiences that a person can have achieved quite young and then may leave the workforce and come back. Someone who has had no experience in maternal and child health but has the passion and finally comes to a place in life when it can be acted upon with a generic or more general background or with a specific healthcare clinical background or associate, whatever it may be, gets self into the position and is able to give richly for decades. There are so many ways that people can contribute. And one of the things that I've learned from people entering public health field from a variety of backgrounds is the issue of their eyes being in that way for only a short time. If I'm 50 and it's my first day in a public health department, my eyes in seeing that department and what I need to be about to learn how to meet the goals of the organization and deliver services are going to be that way for only a short period of time. So I need to be listened to, and I need to be asked questions of in that initial phase before I move on and before I've been co-opted, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Well,
but I'm going to be different.
And this is interesting because it goes against the traditional way of thinking about the probationary period, and you have to prove yourself. And so what you're talking about is more of an openness to people's potential before they, in the very traditional ways, show you that they can do it.
Whatever is my background, whatever I bring, milk it from me. Find out what it is that I know. I was delivering a seminar in another state, and the young lady was, sitting like this when I asked a certain question, and I said, I would be so interested in knowing what you're thinking. And she said, yada, yada, and I said, is there anybody else in the room, all of whom worked in that state? Anybody else in the room had that exact thought? And they all said no. Never would have occurred to us. Never would have occurred to us. I said, who's been here a year, who's been here 5 years, who's been here 20 years? all along the, continuum in the direction. This young lady had been there 2 weeks. She had the scoop. She had what they needed to hear. I said, write that down. Write that down. Somebody will do something about that. It's wonderful what we bring and should be given credit for. And just the little P.S. you all probably know from the organizational behavior literature that more and more as we remain open to doing things differently, the literature is suggesting that who will come up with a solution to whatever is the issue that's before me will not look like me. Will not look like me. By whatever definition will not look. I take heart from that too.
Well, like Laura and Kay, I don't know you well enough, but yeah, having sort of gone through the lifespan, and plotting through the lifespan, many parts in terms of having had children and been in school and all those different things. I think I really do try to pay attention to that and really make a commitment. I think part of my commitment and passion to leadership was to really make it possible for women in different places in their life trajectory with life circumstances to continue in their careers and say yes you can and we're going to do this together. I think and it's not something that I haven't seen totally go away with the time since the women's movement or whatever, because the situations are still very similar. A lot of things have changed, but some haven't, and some haven't changed enough. And I think, as a woman, I feel, and somebody with some ability to do that, to really have a commitment to say yes, you can, and not let women sort of say give up or I have to make these false choices and that kind of thing. And so, I'm a little reticent to sort of say that, but to talk about that, I guess, but in some ways, but it just seems like the men around me haven't had to have that special sort of, yes, you can be a father, and do work, but a lot of women do, and I know, yeah, I just think organizations and the whole professional field set up a lot of, what can be false choices. And these are hard decisions.
And oftentimes environments where you can't discuss those issues
Right.
if it's not raised by your supervisor.
Yeah.
I have a friend who wrote a book, I think it was called like Beyond 9 to 5 or something, but it was directed to women and negotiating different sorts of flexible work times, flexible workplaces, and this was it was many years ago. It's not a recent, and it gave very specific scenarios about how to broach this conversation with your supervisor. I think we don't have those conversations often enough. You wait till somebody gets into a crisis or something, and then you have a conversation rather than talking about it as this is a part of your life course. These are things that can be anticipated.
I mean, I think part of the learning is people bring different things to work.
Right.
And for an organization to develop those folks, you have to acknowledge that. And people learn differently, and they come from different experiences, and those are shaped by who they are and what culture they're in or from. So that makes a big difference. And so I think learning has to be tailored to that in many ways.
Right.